Hi, everybody. We got two more followers. Okay, I'm just going to wait a little bit and get everybody in here. And yeah, so I hope everybody's doing well at home. I know it's not the ideal time right now with the lockdown, and it's just tough on everybody. But I do hope all of you guys are doing well. Today we have a special guest, program director for Keep Six, Rachel Xyminis. She'll be here soon, so let me just check if she's here already. Oops. Okay. All right. Yeah, we're just gonna wait for her. Just give her a minute. But yeah. So everybody, feel free to post your comments, questions anytime you want. We'll obviously get to them at some point as we move along with the conversation. So, but yeah, as I said, our guest today is Rachel. Keep Six. She's actually the co-creator for this Instagram live session. She's like the brains, the genius behind a lot of Keep Six's programs. And most of the time, she's the one out there doing the work, talking to other people, sharing other people's stories, and she rarely gets a chance to share her own story. So today, the plan is to have a talk, talk to us and tell us about herself, what she's up to, just to give you guys a sneak peek behind the team at Keep Six. All right. Yeah, she says she's logging on. She'll be in here in a second. But how are you guys doing? Just feel free to post your comments. Let me know how you're doing. Wilmar, I'm live 22 real. How you guys doing? Okay, just a second. I see everybody at home is just tuning in right now. Thanks everybody for joining. I'm just waiting for Rachel. She'll be in a couple of seconds, couple of minutes. Hi Kahina, Amanda, Seth Your Life, JC. How you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing well. I see I got some people tuning in from Ottawa. It's not just Toronto. So yeah, we're national. We're going live. We're national. Crossing boundaries and crossing borders. So soon we'll be international. Thanks to you guys for the support you give to Keep Six. Yeah, Amanda. Yeah, so you can check us out on our website, keep6.org, for more of our programs. Just to see what we're up to. Obviously, on Instagram, you can keep up to date with what we're doing. And exciting events are coming up in a couple of weeks. I know for the summer, we'll be having some exciting stuff going on. So just stay tuned. And Rachel's here. So we're going to...
Hey, how are you?
Good, Rachel. How are you? My phone just fell.
I'm okay. I was like rushing. I was stuck in traffic, so my apologies for being late. Can you hear me okay? You froze or if I froze. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. It's just my thing kind of. So there we go. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. I'm doing great. Thanks for coming in. So for everybody else joining in right now, this is Ray, the brain behind what a Six does. You can hear me, right? I'm good.
I can, but it's a little bit distorted.
A little bit distorted. Okay, let me just kind of move it around a little.
Hey, Amanda, Mo,
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Icy. Yes, I can hear you.
So, thank you for coming in. For everybody tuning in right now, Rachel is the brains, is the genius behind all the work that Keep Six does. And most of the time, she's the one getting people to tell their stories, share their stories. But today, Rachel gets to talk to us and tell us about herself. So, Rachel, thank you. Just a little introduction. I don't know how to describe you, and maybe I may not do the job well, but I know you describe yourself as a community activist, an advocate, business professional, an artist, dancer, creative director, film mom, a biker chick, and a whole Renaissance woman. Is that true?
That was a long list.
Sure, yeah, I'm sure you deserve all those titles. So,
That was a very long list. Wow, I'm actually, when you say everything, I'm just like, holy crap.
so how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm okay. How are
Yeah.
you?
Not too bad. Doing well. I am always busy with school and work, but I work with kids as well. So here I am. I'm excited for this because this is actually the first time you've been interviewed, right?
Yes. So this is the first time. I mean, it's different to be on the opposite side of the camera, you know. Um,
Yeah,
it's so I'm so accustomed to being the one interviewing and having the conversations.
yeah.
But this is the first time that I'm actually being the one
Uh-huh.
interviewed. So
Well, that's good. So today you get to tell your story, and I love that. So, um, who's Rachel? Who's Rachel Xyminis? What are you all about? Why do you do all the work you do? What's your story?
what is my story? Oh man. I guess this all started just from a young age. I was street involved at the age of 16, um,
Hmm.
meaning I left home at the age of 16. And during that time, it was really a search for self identity. And during that time, I met a lot of different amazing people. Um, but unfortunately, a lot of those that I met and a lot of the ones that really took care of me during that time were individuals who unfortunately were entrapped in the cycle of the criminal justice system.
Hmm.
And so it became very routine and normal for me to see loved ones and friends and people that I called my family consistently be going in and out.
Yeah.
And at a point, it came to a point where eventually I was doing school. I was doing my co-op at a law office, and I
Okay.
decided that I wanted to pursue a career within the legal field because I wanted to be able to be that person that would be able to assist. Um, because I had seen so many individuals, and I often say a lot of the times, I often say that the hood saved me, and people ask me, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of times I say, like, when you think about people, there's this stigma about living in a low income environment in a marginalized community. Um, but these particular individuals, when I was street involved and when I didn't have the support of loved ones, these were the particular individuals that took care of me. They just took care of me in the way they knew how,
Hmm.
right? And they only did it in the needs that they had. So when I started to go to school, I wanted to get into some sort of a legal field to really
Yeah.
understand how the system worked. So I did pursue um, criminology and criminal justice. I started pursuing my schooling within law itself as well. But then I found that I wasn't the type of person that could sit in an office and be in that mentality. I was more the person who was active. I had to be out there doing the work. I had to be in the field. And that's sort of where things have changed, and I had to align and kind of find where my calling was. And so since then, I've been blessed to have an opportunity to work with Keep Six on multiple various projects and initiatives, and really be an advocate for those that are on the inside.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they go on the inside and everyone kind of forgets about them. And that's that. Nobody thinks about what happens after that. And it's so easy for individuals to associate the stigma. It's so easy for individuals to create their own judgments. And so these people become forgotten and they don't have those supports. And when you come out and you don't have the supports to be able to make that change and to make that, or to curb that, then again, you're stuck in that ever-rotating entrapment. And it's really just a continuous circle. And so that's where I've now just really been one to really work at advocating for those on the inside, supporting those that are on the outside that have loved ones on the inside. Because I think that's something a lot of people forget about, is they get so wrapped up in taking care of their partner, their father, their son, their husband, whoever it may be, that they don't take time to take care for themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
So looking at how we support both those on the inside, but also support ourselves while we're taking care of those individuals. And then just the overall scope when it comes to how do we bridge the gaps and bridge the barriers that start this trend all together. How do we break that when it comes to starting really first from within the community and building our village and looking at youth, and how do we ensure that they don't fall into that same trap?
Yeah. Okay. So, did you have people, I guess when you were young, did you have people who kind of helped you along the way? Or was it a situation where you just had to pull yourself up for yourself? Like family, friends, mentors, like your whole journey, I guess, from the time you were young to the role you play today as a community engagement activist?
So when I was young, like I said, I became street involved when I was 16. So at the age of 16, I was really literally trying to learn how to fend for myself.
Yeah.
And at that age, being in either couch hopping or going from home to home, and really understanding self, there's only so many things that you can do at that age to be able to provide for yourself. Okay? So I had to, and don't get me wrong, I had individuals that did take me in and did provide in the best way they could, but they were doing it in the way they knew how.
Yeah, exactly.
The way that they knew how may not necessarily have been what we would have called the best way.
Yeah, like the ideal way. Yeah.
So, exactly. And so because of that, there were things that I saw, there were things that, there were individuals that I were acquainted with that had a certain lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it was really me kind of sitting there and saying, okay, do I go down that same path? And I be that person that ends up in jail or worse, or do I make that change and say, no, I'm not going to end up like this, and I'm going to do something different? And that's what I mean when I say that these are individuals that took care of me in the way they knew how, but in that process, it became normal for me to see them consistently go through that cycle of going in and out. right? So how do I change that? How do I bridge those gaps? How do I overcome those barriers to ensure that others don't go through that cycle? And so when I saw mothers that were going into jail while their children are out, that's highly problematic.
Yeah.
When I saw men that were really trying to provide for their families, but they only knew one means of making money,
Yeah.
that's problematic. And when an individual comes out and they don't have resources and they don't have support to be able to understand and see things in a different light, then like that cycle just continues.
Yeah, for sure. Uh-huh. Um, I like that whole idea where you talked about how, people, when they take care of you, they take care of you in the best way that they could themselves. Um, because I certainly, growing up as well, I kind of had friends along those lines as well, and you kind of see it like your parents. It's not that sometimes they're not good parents or they're not good guardians, but it's just that's the best they can do. I say this because I understand a lot of anger, like why would this happen to me, or why would I grow up and say, why would like where I grew up be like this, be so messed up, like why me? And which kind of brings me to my next point, which is uh, the aspect of mental health growing up. How has it been? I mean, especially in the Black community where I think it's a recent conversation. Still a lot of people don't want to talk about mental health and admit that it's like something you need to take care of. But you, at what age did you kind of start to realize that you have to take care of yourself, your mental health, and you can't always, I guess, be angry if that ever was like a thing for you?
Yeah, so when as I was growing up, I was always labeled as being angry.
Okay.
That was always the terminology. I was always angry. I was the rebellious one. I was
Yeah.
the grateful one. And those were the labels that were put on me. And it was just that no one was really understanding.
Yeah.
And especially in a Caribbean household, the topic of mental health isn't a conversation that you have at home.
Yeah.
That's not, nobody sits there and says, oh, like maybe we need to sit down and discuss. It was more so you're being disrespectful, you're acting out, you're being rebellious, and anything along those lines. And so when I left home, at first in my mind, it was like, okay, I'm free, I can do whatever I want, nobody can tell me what to do. But as I grew older, then there were those times where it would start to kick in a little bit.
Yeah.
But I still wasn't able to identify exactly what that was.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And as I got into my 20s, it continued to show, and it continued to, I was always still that angry person where I would go to try and find therapists, and it was always that same thing of me being angry and holding on to a lot of those emotions. And because of that, it prevented me from allowing anyone in. And it took me a very long time to identify that.
Yeah.
And to really understand what those emotions were. And it took me a long time to also find the right therapist that helped me through my healing journey.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important for individuals not to think that when you're looking for a therapist, the first person you talk to, that's the person that is going to be the one to help you. The first person that you're referred to isn't going to be that person. You have to vet your therapist. You've got to, you really have to be able to connect with them on that level to be able to really benefit.
Yeah.
And I think all too often people think, okay, they have letters behind their name, they're a therapist, a psychotherapist, psychologist, what have you, so they're going to help me. But it's not always like that. And
Yeah.
especially if you're someone coming from the Black community, in a marginalized community, or a criminalized community,
Yeah.
find somebody that's going to look at you from an anti-Black racism lens, someone that's not going to judge you based on your past, somebody who's not going to judge you based on your current situation and what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to really take the time to speak with various therapists, see what works for you, what gauges with you. I don't know if Natasha's on here right now, but Natasha Pennycook, who is one of our co-hosts, she actually wrote a blog recently in terms of how do you find the right therapist. Because it's something that's so important, especially now in the times that we're going through, where individuals are starting to realize that I need help and I need support. You really need to take that time to really assess and find someone that can work with you through your healing journey. Because you don't want someone to add to the trauma. You
Exactly.
want to help you identify and work through it.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like that. I mean, I relate to that because, so I know you talked about your background being Caribbean. So my background is African, and it's pretty much the same thing too. Where there's a lot of denial about some of these issues, and so for me, being a Black man in North America, like nothing could prepare you for that. You could read out all you want, but right? And it's like this subtle energy that you feel. So I struggle with that, and I have had conversations with Natasha about that too, about a therapist and how to find the right therapist. And I think definitely like the background of the therapist matters. Being a Black man, I would imagine like if there was a white woman, like it would just be a different story, just a different relationship. So I want to talk more about sort of what you do. I guess you say you're into business as well, entrepreneurship.
With my
I think
website?
I said I want to talk about more about what other stuff you do, like business, entrepreneurship, because I know you call yourself a businesswoman. So, what's your
So I mean, part of my healing journey was finding hobbies that to be able to kind of occupy my time, and eventually I was able to find ways to monetize that.
Yeah.
So alongside what I do within Keep Six, alongside what I do from a corporate standpoint, I also dance in. Yes. I also dance, so you might see me in videos, performances. I model from time to time, so you might see me every now and then in a few places. And just really just trying to find various ways to keep myself busy.
Okay. Um, business in the Black community. I know like a month or two ago we had a seminar, like a discussion on our Keep Six pages about entrepreneurship, especially we're targeting young entrepreneurs. The reason I bring this up is because, in my opinion, I think the only way, or one of the few ways as Black people we can get ahead is through ownership and starting businesses and owning businesses and owning properties. And because I can give an example of just like the music industry, where we know Black people have like this, we're pretty powerful in the music industry, but the ownership is so low. And we see artists from time to time still poor, still get nothing from the system that they put in. So I do support like the whole entrepreneurship and business and trying to find a way you can support yourself financially. So props to you for that, for sure.
Thank you.
And then let's talk about this project you're working on, the guidebook for supporting incarcerated loved ones.
Okay.
I know you're working on that. So what's going on with that?
Okay, yeah, because you said let's talk about a project. I'm like, which project? So I recently recently just started Rays of Agape. It's still in the process, but
Yeah.
and it was something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, but I just literally started to push it now. But as I mentioned, like one of the things that I've noticed, even from personal experience, is a lot of times individuals get so wrapped up in supporting their loved ones inside.
Okay.
And a lot of times that demographic really pertains to mothers, wives, women that are really supporting their loved ones. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of amazing men that also support them as well. But a lot of times, a lot of that responsibility falls on the woman. And what I've noticed a lot of times is that, especially if this is the first time, because we are such emotional individuals, we take on a lot of the stress and responsibility in terms of trying to have all the answers. Somebody just, my loved one just got arrested. Who do I call? What's going to happen? How do I put money in his commissary? How do I get to visitation? How do I apply for visitation? What does the process look like? I haven't heard from him in 3 days. Is everything okay? How do I? And I noticed that started to become a very reoccurring theme.
Uh-huh.
And it also comes to the point where you start to arrange your day according to what was happening inside. So if I didn't hear from somebody on the inside, I'd almost just shut down and couldn't do anything because my anxiety would be like, I don't know if everything's okay.
Yeah.
Or if I knew that there's a certain time frame that somebody would be calling between 7 and 9 o'clock, I'd shut everything down and say, sorry, 7 to 9 o'clock, I'm completely, I can't do anything, and wait for that time, and maybe a call would never come.
Yeah.
And so I started to see that sometimes we take on all of this stress and this burden, but we don't take time to take care of ourselves. And we get so worked up with what's going on the inside. And don't get me wrong, it's very valid, and our feelings are very valid. But we get so worked up with what's going on that we can't control.
Yeah.
And it takes a toll on us. And I know so many women, myself included, who went through various feelings in terms of either being depression or just anxiety or the various feelings that come with supporting someone. But again, it's something you can't control. So what I wanted to do was create a platform that allowed us to really speak about these feelings in open space that's completely non-judgmental, but also provide tips and almost like a little guidebook in terms of what to expect.
Yeah.
Right. So that is a collaboration with a few other individuals, individuals that I'm very close with, and I'm not going to talk too much about that because it is something that's still in the works. But ideally, what we want to do is really create something that we can provide to others to say this is what to expect, as well as tips in terms of what worked for us. To avoid really getting lost in really trying to support someone else, because at the end of the day, we can't support someone else if we're not supporting ourselves and taking care of ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what does that self-care look like? Whether it be taking some time to really just drown out everything via social media, phone, taking time for yourself, going on walks, doing a spa day, just shut the outside world out, journaling, manifestations, affirmations, dance, working out. Like there's so many different ways in how self-care can come forward, right? So it's identifying what works best for each individual, and creating some sort of a routine, just to ensure that we're keeping ourselves uplifted throughout the entire process.
So I guess this is like a service or an idea that I guess like Canada or like the prison system doesn't support, like it doesn't have, the prison system doesn't have its own support system. So I guess outsiders have to come in and create their own system. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, so the prison system, the Canadian prison system, it does not provide support. I can say that outright. There's no support provided on either end. And support, especially from a programming perspective, continues to diminish every year. So when we look at in 2007, when Harper was in office and he pulled a lot of programming, he pulled a lot of programming out of prisons. And during that time that he pulled a lot of programming out of prisons,
Yeah.
he also increased a lot of the mandatory minimums and implemented a lot of the mandatory minimums.
Yeah.
And when we look at the overrepresentation, the population that's overrepresented within the criminal justice system is primarily Black and Indigenous individuals that are in the prison justice system. So these individuals already on the outside, for majority of them, haven't had the resources, haven't had the support, and haven't had someone to really help them through that process of self-identity and healing, and identifying the traumas and the triggers. And now they've gone into a system where, based on whatever was happening on the outside, has now gotten them into this particular situation where they're now facing increased mandatory minimums, and they're now going into human cages, which is what I call it, and being dehumanized, where they're not receiving mental health support. If they are receiving mental health support, they're seeing somebody maybe once every other month, which doesn't help in any sort of healing, because you can't unpack when you're not able to build rapport and build a connection with somebody. And with those circumstances, it just continues to add to the trauma that they're already experiencing.
Yeah.
And so with that, that's where there's so many different grassroots, be it Keep Six, Hope, Toronto Prisoners' Rights Project, Amadeus, that really are the ones that are stepping up to advocate for these individuals and do our best to be able to provide some sort of programming or support, because they're not getting it on the inside. And if you're not getting it on the inside, then you're not being rehabilitated, which basically just makes no sense to a system that's supposed to rehabilitate you. When you come out, you're going to be doing the exact same thing, which is why I keep saying that it's literally a cycle, it's a circle, it's an entrapment. Once you're in, you're trapped. And it's how do you break out of that trap?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you broke out of the system, and you're also trying to do a lot of positive work and help other people who've been affected. And I'm sure a lot of people do appreciate the work you do. For me, I gotta say, because just before I started volunteering at Kip 6, I guess I used to talk a lot about incarceration rates, the injustices that like people of color face, but I never actually put in work, right? Like for me, it was just like conversation until I joined Kip 6, because I really wanted to do some positive work, and I'm still learning, but talking is not enough, and I'm glad we have people such as yourself. I know you also work with Melissa. Melissa, she's doing a PhD in criminal justice as well.
She's doing her PhD in sociology.
Theology. Yeah, I got to interview her last year. But I'm glad I got to meet people like you who are actually, working in programs that I can pinpoint to and be like, hey, there's actually specific programs, and I know the people working on them. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. We truly appreciate it. Just a second. So for the people watching at home, if you have any questions for Ray, feel free to post them up in the comment section, and we'll get to answer them. So let's talk about Keep Six. I know you've been with Keep Six for a while now, and you've done some notable work, some great work. I imagine Keep Six, the team, it's like a family to you.
Yes, so Keep Six really is a family. And it's from everybody on the team, be it Richard, who's the founder, as much as he'll call me and wake me up at 7 o'clock in the morning, to Natasha, who's always got us in the air, our IT guys. There's so many people in the background that you don't see. You know, a lot of times when you look at Keep Six, you see Rachel, you see Natasha, you see my Richard, you see you, but there's so many people that are in the background that are doing amazing work. And it's really become just a family of individuals who all have a passion for one, bigging up the Black community. Hi, Natasha. But two, just really making a change. And in this day and age, especially with the current culture and the climate of what's going on within this last year, like it really allows you to see the possibility of how things can change.
Yeah.
And so it's really just continuing to push forward even during those times where we become overwhelmed or there's so much work to do and sometimes we feel like maybe we're not doing enough or we're not making headway.
Okay, great. I like that. Yeah, Natasha just joined us. Hey, Natasha. Hey, everybody. Yeah, so everybody just post your questions there if you have something to say to Rachel. Yeah, so yeah, we'll get to address your questions in a second post. So, yeah, so what's a typical day like for you when you wake up? I know you handle a lot of projects, but I guess a lot of people would want to know, like, what's your typical day? Do you have a typical day?
What's my morning routine like? Richard, for the record, I don't call it 7 a.m., I call it 7:01. This is true. Very true. So my routine, I'm usually up by 6-ish. I try to stay away from like no screen time for the first hour to 2 hours. Be that reading, journaling. It could go into either stretching, working out, dance at sometimes. Just sort of taking time for me. Because after that, and I know once that's done, then I'm going to be on my screen all day. So really just taking time for self. And then from that, it will be answering Richard's phone call. So yeah, I think to be honest with you, the first person I speak to every morning is probably Richard. And it's like an outline of like, okay, what do we have to do for today? Who do we need to call? Who do we need to email? What meetings do we have for the day? And then kind of planning out what that looks like, who we need to follow up with, and then just getting the day started from there.
Yeah. We got a question from Ukilam Kel. And the question is, are there any initiatives you were excited about this year?
Any projects that I'm excited about? Who's that? Kelly. Are we talking like work related or are we talking in general?
Let's start with in general, and then we'll move on to work related.
So from a personal level, like I mentioned, I recently just pushed out this new program that I've been working on for a long time. And I'm collaborating with a lot of amazing women to really provide a support system for women and for those that are supporting individuals on the inside. And also putting a focus on individuals that are often forgotten. So not just looking at how do we support the men on the inside, but how do we support the women that are inside. Oftentimes when we talk about the prison system, we don't talk about the women that are incarcerated. So putting a focus on that, putting a focus on the areas that people don't like to talk about. So the marginalization of sex workers, in terms the criminalization of drugs, looking at those areas in terms of and really showing interest on those particular areas, focusing on street involved youth. And really looking at that, bridging those gaps. So that's some of the projects that I'm working on, and I'm super excited about. From a personal level, I have so many amazing women in my life, and then I guess it's sort of like work and personal because it's like my personal project, but it is still work related. From a personal aspect, so I have my tribe. I have a tribe of women that support me. A lot of them, shout out to a lot of them that are in here today. And we're constantly working, be it either doing something dance related, working on visuals. There's so much in the works. And I've had some amazing creative brainstorming sessions with some amazing queens. So there's a lot that's coming out. I can't speak to much of it because they're still in the works, but there is, from a creative side of things, there's a lot that we're planning on be pushing out in the next little bit. Yes, Vicky. So that's one of my tribe sisters, and we 3 a.m. we're up planning and mapping. So there's stuff.
I can tell it means so, like your tribe means so much to you because you call them your tribe, you call them your queens. So I guess those are like very special people to you in your life.
Why are they so special?
No, I mean I suppose they are special because.
Yeah, no, 100%. Hands down, I'm a strong believer in building your village, and building that village with individuals that will really uplift you and support you, and that's what my tribe does. We can be the individuals that can be crazy and have fun, and you think we were 16-year-olds when we're really nowhere near being 16, right? We can have fun, we can do those crazy things, but at the same time, we can also be the ones to have those really deep and necessary conversations. We can be those ones that you can call and reach out to when you do need something or when you do need someone to talk. And sometimes you don't want to talk, you just need someone to physically be present. And those are the people that I can reach out to just be like, I need a cup of tea, or I'm feeling for some porridge, or I just want someone to lay with. Like my sis said, woman up. And these are like, that's what my tribe sisters do, right? So I'm forever grateful to them. And there's so much love.
I admire the strength. I can feel the strength. I can feel the strength that you gain from your group. So I love that. I know you're not old. But do you work with younger people? Like any programs for I guess like the younger generation?
So we acknowledge like there's a lot of youth, and often people use the term at-risk youth, and I don't really like to use the term at-risk youth. Or people use the terminology delinquents. I don't like that term. But there's a lot of youth that need support, and as mentioned before, the topic of mental health is something that's fairly new to the Black community. And so a lot of times these children get a label put on them the same way I had a label put on me when I was young. And I mean, unfortunately, right now with the restrictions, it's hard for us to really have that same level of support as before when we were able to go into schools and do workshops and youth workshops and whatnot. Now
Yeah.
we're limited in what we can really do, but 100% we're able to provide that support for
Mm-hmm.
youth and try to really assist them in curbing those pathways. I think youth, when we look at it, even just from a statistic standpoint, in terms of how Black youth, the youth of color, are treated in comparison to their white counterparts within the education system, there's
Yeah.
a huge gap. And so it's really addressing those gaps and really being able to speak out. And I mean, even over the last year or so, we've seen what's happened within the Peel District School Board because of that. And the reporting that's come out because of the overrepresentation of Black youth that are being suspended and expelled from school.
Yeah.
The overrepresentation of Black and Indigenous youth that are being that Children's Aid Society are becoming involved in. And so really addressing those barriers, and we definitely have been able to support youth. Obviously, again, right now with the restrictions, we're not able to do as much as we would like to. But for sure, 100%, for anyone who has youth or would like to reach out to us, they can definitely do that.
So if like this problem that like I guess people of color are facing, and I like to call it like a problem where of like the failure of the system to recognize people of color as just like human beings, right? Like the system just can't. And like you said, like, you know, the dropout rates, I mean, sorry, not the dropout rates, but suspension rates in high school. Like, why is it so difficult, like, for the system to just like recognize people of color, BIPOC people as just like, you know, normal people?
Because the entire system has been created that way.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have this talk so many times. The system isn't broken.
Mm-hmm.
People say it all the time. It's so broken. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. No, the system's doing exactly what it was supposed to do, what it was created to do. Canada's a white settler state.
Mm-hmm.
And it is deeply rooted in colonialism. And when these laws started to be created by these white settlers, it was created to have power over the marginalized, which were the Indigenous folks that were on this land. And that's just evolved over time. And so when we look at our current state and where we are currently, and you look at the Canadian criminal justice system and the laws that have been, not the laws, but really just the methods in which they conduct themselves, it's really just evolved from what started and how colonialism started. And so it's ever more apparent when we look at not just the criminal justice system, but the housing system, the educational system, the employment system. There's so many areas in which systemic racism is so apparent. The healthcare system. There's so many areas in which it's become so apparent, and it's because the entire system's been designed like that from the very beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we look at education and we look at the overrepresentation of BIPOC students that are being discriminated against, it's not surprising.
Yeah. What gives me hope is the fact that we have people such as yourself. We have organizations such as districts and a whole host of organizations, right? There's a whole range organizations that deal with like specific issues. But ultimately, all of these organizations, what they're trying to do is, I guess, you know, get the system to recognize us as human beings, right? human beings worthy of respect, worthy of dignity. So yeah, so I do applaud your bravery and your strength in exposing yourself and putting yourself in the front line because it is not easy. Um, it is not easy, like you said. You wake up every day and phone calls, and so thank you for all the work you do. Truly appreciate it. um, so I do want to know though. I'm sure there's people you look up to. Any people who kind of who motivate you, who any individuals you really look up to and kind of keep you going? It could be celebrities or even just like local people.
Um, so there's individuals that definitely motivate me. I wouldn't say I aspire to be like anyone because
Yeah.
I want to be myself and create the best self for me. But there are individuals that their pathways
Yeah.
that I like to learn from and to draw
Mhm.
from.
Yeah.
And I think it's really the individuals that you surround yourself with and the ones that you gravitate to. I'm a strong believer in energy and those that you vibe with when you have that positive energy, you feed off of that. And I remember my grandfather used to say, "Show me your friend and I'll tell you who you are."
Yeah.
And it's so true in terms of when you look at who your inner circle is. When I look at individuals that are really strong, powerful women that are ones to speak up with regards to current issues, individuals that are able to fight through and get up in the morning and really push forward despite whatever traumas they may have faced, be it physical trauma, sexual trauma, emotional trauma, and to be able to really push forward. Those are the women that I applaud, and I have those women within my inner circle.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that even when I feel like it's not worth it anymore, or is everything that I'm doing like falling on deaf ears, they're the ones that really are the ones to push me. So I would say my tribe is the one that motivates me without
Yeah.
a doubt. And there's definitely a lot of women that I work with, Natasha included, that just seeing their journey in terms of over the last year and how they've evolved as well, and being able to celebrate that from the outside, that's motivating in itself. Just being able to really celebrate the wins of those around you, that in itself is what really allows me to push for it.
Yeah. Um, it is good to keep a circle of strong people to support you, but it's even better if you have a dog. And I know you call yourself pro mom. You have dogs, so I'm surprised. I was expecting the dog to kind of crawling around all over you there. So.
Yes. You have to have that. You have to. No, I mean the love from an animal is just like it's an innocent love.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, when they say like a dog's a man's best friend, like I truly.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know what happened there. The video just froze. Just give it a couple minutes. Hopefully she comes back. But yeah, so if you guys have questions for Rachel, throw them in the chat, and we'll ask her a few things. If you want to know anything on, oh, here she is. You just kind of broke away there for like 20 seconds. It's frozen again. Yeah, but feel free to ask your questions. Ask, anything you want to know about Rachel, anything you want to know about Keep Six. Yeah. I think she lost connection or something, so I will give it maybe 30 seconds. I think she'll be back. So yeah, there we go.
There, we good?
Yeah, I lost you there for a while, but okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, you
What
were
were
telling
we
me your
talking
dog?
about?
Yeah,
Dogs, yes.
yeah, yeah.
Um, no, they're amazing. They are my babies.
Okay.
And just like how um, I advocate and speak for those that are marginalized and criminalized, which are those within the system, I also advocate for those that are criminalized, which are pit bulls and American bullies, and those that have a stigma associated with them for being these killer dogs. So those are my babies. I have two of them, and yeah, no.
Okay. No, I love that. I kind of makes me feel like I need to get a dog. But yeah, that's the thing, though. I mean, because you work so hard, like, does anybody else help you take care of the dog, or just you?
I have my brothers.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, just because I imagine you do a lot of work and maybe not at home all the time. So, but yeah, I mean, dogs, great company. Okay, so we're running out of time. If anybody has questions over there, just post them in the chat. We will direct them to Rachel. I know Vic is there. Vicky Ray. I guess that's like part of your tribe, right?
Vicky,
So
that's my tribe, yes.
yeah, so
That's
Vicky Ray.
Ashley, Phoenix Valley, yes.
Phoenix and Cali. Oh, Phoenix and okay. All right. So Rachel, we will wrap it up soon. But any word for people going through struggles right now? As somebody who's a fighter yourself, look, not everybody's as strong as you.
Um, just keep going,
Hmm.
honestly. Just keep going. Surround yourself with good people, with dope people, with people that will push you and challenge you. Um, I think it's like I'm a strong believer in terms of the energy that you surround yourself with. And really just honestly just keep going. Those times I think when you doubt yourself are actually the times when amazing things are about to happen. So don't fall short. Don't stop.
And keep dancing.
And keep dancing. Yes, you need to dance 100%.
There's this like therapy technique I've kind of been reading about. I'm not really well versed in it. Maybe other people know about it. It's called embodiment. So the whole idea is, like, you have to embody. I guess so. Yeah. So you have to be in touch with your body, right? Um, embody your feelings. If you're feeling angry, you have to feel it in your body and process it through the body because the body keeps the score. And for me, I find dance to be one of the ways to actually deal with emotions, right? So it's not just dance for fun, but it's actually therapeutic. So just move around, feel the music, and it definitely helps.
Dance like nobody is watching.
Exactly. I love that. Vicky says, we're proud of you. Uh, this beautiful, strong inspiration of a woman. So yeah,
To Troy.
you are getting a lot of love. Um, Anybody else with questions, just post them in the chat. We'll send them to Rachel and Rich. I don't know if Rich is still here. Is Rich still there? If not, he's gone. And then also one more thing, bikes. I know you ride bikes.
Sorry?
I know you ride bikes. You're a biker chick.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you kind of love the fast life and
I love the fast life.
yeah.
Cars,
So,
bikes, roller coasters, bungee jumping.
okay. Yeah.
Well,
Adrenaline junkie. So that's, I guess, kind of, you're an adrenaline junkie too. So quote that inspires you. That's from Vicky.
a quote that inspires me. Huh. She's really pushing. This is when I say my tribe challenges me. Yeah, this is it. And she's upstairs too. So,
Okay.
um,
So
quote that inspires me. I honestly think I always go back to like the same quote that my grandfather said, like, show me your friend and I'll tell you who you are.
Okay.
That one, as well as nothing tried, nothing done.
Yeah.
There's a very, very close person to my heart, and that is something that he says all the time. Nothing tried, nothing done. And it's so true because sometimes you doubt yourself when you want to do something. And you're like, I
Yeah.
don't know if I should do it. I don't know if I should take the risk. And then it just pops up in my head every time that he says it. He's like, if you don't try it, you didn't do anything. So might as well just go for it. So yeah, those would be the two.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Very inspirational. Um, I think we are running out of time. I just want to make sure I do like a proper closing before we run out of time. So, Rachel, thank you very much for joining us today, for sharing your story with us. Not many people kind of get to hear that except your tribe, but everybody else, they got to kind of hear your story. So that's a good thing. Program director, community activist, advocate, business professional, artist, dancer, creative director, fur mom, biker chick, a whole nice woman. Thank you. You're amazing and you're strong. You're an inspiration to me, to plenty of other people. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of people appreciate the work you do.
Thank you.
So yeah, everybody else at home, this video is going to be up. Share it with your friends, share it with your network. Check us out on keeptik.org for more programs, and you can stay up to date on our Instagram, see what we're up to every day. We got stuff going on. We got exciting programs coming up soon. So, and if you want to follow Rachel, you can check her out on Instagram. Ray Ray XYR or something like that. So
I am Razy. I am Ray XY.
okay, I'll link your profile on the post. So Rachel, thank you very much. I mean, we'll obviously be seeing you soon anyway, but have a great night. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you. You as well.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks everybody for joining us today. That was Ray, and that's the end of our segment today on Keep Six Live. So have a great night. We will see you guys next week. We'll have another exciting guest. Just check out Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or our website for more updates. So I'm signing out. My name is Roland. I'm the co-host. Have a great night. We love you all. Stay strong. Bye-bye.